Bienvenidos, señoras y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. Estamos en vivo in the carne asada. Before we start the show, let's get the business out of the way. Bet Online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today, get in on the action, use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit, up to $250. Bet Online, the game starts here. Cubales Sangrones joining us on the live. All right, let's I know a lot of you are heated right now because the Dodgers just got swept by the Phillies of Philadelphia. But so we have Canelo joining us. Canelo, who was covering the Dodgers in Philadelphia for us this week. So we're going to get updates from Canelo and my dear friend, my compadre. I haven't seen him in a while. Alonso, ¿cómo estás, my friend?
I'm here, vibing. I mean, I'm not stoked on why I'm here, but I'm here nonetheless.
And finally, we are joined by a very special guest, and we are very honored that he joined us. He is none other than Robbie Hyde. You guys may know him as the co-host of the Barreled Up podcast, which he co-hosts with Jim Riley. He also has a YouTube channel, over 40,000 subscribers. You do some work with baseball trade values, right, Robbie?
Yes, I do. I'm the really annoying guy on Twitter that posts their using their simulator all the time. I always get nice comments about them, but yes, we do quite a bit of work together. So,
well, it's gonna be great because I already see on the chat we're already looking. We need to make like 5 trades. Look, we love having Robbie on because, like, we get accused of being homers. Sometimes we get accused of being haters. We love getting outside perspectives in terms of how people who probably don't overreact like us, aren't that close to the situation, can give us a somewhat objective perspective on the Dodgers. But before we do that, Robbie, I hope you can share a little bit with us your story, man, because I find you've been doing YouTube content since 2020. And I was reading your bio. Okay, is this true? You were a teacher for like 9 years, and now you are just strictly just talking baseball for a living now?
Yeah, 9.5 years to be exact, being an elementary school teacher. I don't know how I made it that long. But, it was a rewarding career, and to be honest with you, it really helped prepare me. I don't think I'm the most amazing YouTuber out there, but it's definitely helped me in that department when it comes to, talking to an audience and whatnot. Somehow, some way, talking to 7, 8, 9-year-olds really helped with this. So, but yeah, it was a good time while it lasted, but I was ready to just jump in to this. I love talking baseball. It's something I do every day. And, how it got started, my best friend, believe it or not, I'm a big Red Sox fan. He's a big Yankees fan. And we used to always, go at it. We text all the time. And back in 2020, like you said, I was thinking, I love talking about this stuff. I got one friend who I talk baseball with, because everyone else here in Florida likes, talking college football and everything. So I was like, let me start a channel. Let me see. It was originally a Red Sox focused channel. I was getting no views, and I did one video that was talking about another team, and it did okay with views. And I figured, okay, let's talk everything baseball. So, and here we are, still trying to figure it out to this day, but we're having fun.
That's very inspiring, man. I would love to one day be able to just make a living talking baseball. But Robbie, before I bring in these guys who I know are going to rip the Dodgers a new one, for those of you guys on the chat, you guys know how this works. If you guys have questions for Robbie, you can always super chat us, and that will move you to the front of the line. But Robbie, from an outsider's perspective, from a Red Sox fan's perspective, the Dodgers just got swept by the Phillies. We had the 2 best teams in terms of record in the National League play this week, and it's very clear that at least right now, the Phillies are probably the most complete team in the National League. What did you see in this series?
I see a Dodgers team that really needs the All-Star break. I see a team full of injuries. I see a team that looks tired. I see a team that's run down. They have not just a lot of injuries, but injuries to key players. The bullpen is having to pick up so much of the slack. The starting pitching has been terrible since the beginning of the Giants series. And not coming into tonight, not including tonight, had a 9.06 ERA in the last 12 games, losing 8 of those games. So the bullpen's struggling. The starting pitching, you got obviously a lot of injuries here, but Stone's not looking as crisp lately. Paxton, I feel like has been just way too up and down this year. Combine that, with the key injuries they're having in this lineup with Mookie, Muncy. It's just a team where the way I look at baseball in a simple point of view is I look at a tripod, right? You got starting pitching, relief pitching, lineup. And when 2 of those 3 are not performing very well, then you're in trouble. And when all 3 are not performing very well, you're in big trouble. So, yeah, I just see a team that needs the All-Star break, especially with this amount of injuries. Yeah. That's pretty, from a simple point of view. I got a lot more numbers here I can go over, but starting off simply, I think that's the biggest issue overall.
I know Canelo has numbers. So before I go to Canelo with the numbers, though, I want to let my friend Alonso come in because I know he's heated. And it wasn't just the heat in Vegas that has you all worked up, Alonso. But the timeline for the Dodgers fans in the last probably 3 days has been a hot mess. And I think you can represent the timeline for us, Alonso. How are you feeling, my friend?
The vibe has deteriorated. I much rather would talk to Robbie about why the Basmanian Devil is the number 1 prospect in baseball and will be the number 1 pick overall, having had a front seat in the Pac-12 conference, RIP Sweet Prince. But this is kind of the first time in a long time that I've just been at a loss, I guess, kind of like the frustration levels. And you saw it on Dave Roberts' face in the post-game presser. My guy is he said it best when they asked him, what's your takeaway from, this Phillies series, is they're clearly a better baseball team right now. And they are. I said so not too long ago on ESPN radio that the Phillies were, in my opinion, the most complete team in the National League. And they're showing it with this series of going out and just manhandling the Dodgers up and down. Aside from the break, what do the Dodgers actually need here, Robbie? Because I can sit here and say, well, go trade for this guy, go trade for that guy. But I'm currently convinced that none of those things will fix that.
Well, I think first off, like I said, All-Star break. I think it's going to help a little bit, get these guys refreshed. You need to get these guys off the IL, back and healthy. I kind of got a little something for each area. I would like to see some starting pitching depth with the Dodgers, considering all the injuries they've had. They have a good infield. I wouldn't mind a ground ball kind of a guy, like someone like Erick Fedde. I know that's not the sexiest name, but I feel like that's someone that could give you some innings, back into the rotation. Even if it's someone like Zach Eflin, you would also have him for next year as well. Guy that doesn't walk anyone, and he gets a decent amount of ground balls as well. Even if you wanted, to go the really cheap route, go for someone like a Cal Quantrill, I feel like he would fit okay with that infield defense there. I don't think you need to go crazy with the starting pitching. They got the stars there. They just need to get them healthy. When you're looking at the bullpen, I'll save that for a second. That's my big finale when it comes to this. Outfield, it's not. They really they track the ball down out there. They make some good plays out there. But when it comes to outs above average, they're not the most inspiring. They're in the bottom half of the league right now when it comes to outs above average. So I could see them adding something good defensively out there. And I think if you can get a bat as well, that could really kind of extend that lineup a little bit more. I think that would be great. Luis Robert, he checks off both boxes there. I know it would probably take an arm and a leg to get him, but if you wanted to go to the superstar route, I think that could be fine. If the Mets end up losing a few games, if they sell off, maybe Harrison Bader, that would give you some good defense out there. I got a fun one for you, a good talking one. Maybe even Jazz Chisholm. I know that probably doesn't sound like the best thing with, Rojas there and everything, but, I think something there in in the outfield could really be a good pick-me-up. But I say the defense part because when it comes to the pitching, they give up a decent amount of fly balls. So I would like for something there in the outfield, just to give them a bit of a pick-me-up out there. So, but if you can add a bat and defense out there, I think that would be great. But the bullpen, I'd love to see something for the bullpen. They've, had guys step up, but they've also had their injuries there. If you want to go for a blockbuster, I say go Mason Miller. You got the prospects to go get it done. You'd also have him for 5 more years after this. The Dodgers are just a factory when it comes to, pitching development. Could they maybe even make him a starter at some point? They've kept Glasnow healthy. Mason Miller, I mean, my goodness, that'd be amazing if they could add him. If not him, maybe, a lefty. I feel like you maybe could add another lefty to this bullpen. They've definitely, have their guys doing well there. But if you wanted to go a Tanner Scott, even an Andrew Nardi, I think that'd be pretty decent. So I think there's a few areas of the team that could just use a little tightening up. But yeah, I think you could make some small moves, maybe even a couple blockbusters as well.
The reason I asked that question the way I did too, in my humble experience on this floating rock, is educators are a little more pragmatic than I am. And so they're not looking at it like DEFCON 1, everything's on fire. Because I don't think everything is on fire. I think it's a culmination of multiple, facets just kind of crashing right now. And as Juan has said religiously on the show, baseball is a stupid game. And this is proof that the game is dumb, because right now everything is just not going their way with the way that the streak is going and whatnot. I see it in the comments, and I don't think that they need to go out and get the guy, but the comments are saying Crochet. I don't think that they need him personally.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that assessment, and why?
Well, it's weird with Crochet, right? Because he, something's got to give with the innings at some point. He's at a career high with the innings. So you're probably looking at him as maybe a reliever when it comes to the postseason, or if they somehow, get him to the postseason while managing his innings, maybe, he could start some games or at very least open some games there. Crochet, I think, would be interesting. Yeah, I'd put him into that same, the Mason Miller category. I just feel like when starting pitching wise, I like what they have. I think they just need to get healthy. And I think a big thing with Glasnow too, this is the most innings he's thrown in the first half of his career. So I'm not surprised to see that, he's going to be skipping the All-Star game. I think that guy just needs a break. Again, the most innings he had pitched in the first half was 88, and he's already up to about 110. So I think Glasnow, keep him healthy. Yamamoto, get that shoulder right. Miller, get him right. I'm okay with the starting pitching as it is. If you wanted to go for it, for a Crochet, sure, go for it. But again, I don't think you need to necessarily make the blockbusters. I think it wouldn't hurt though.
I'm going to send it over to Cody, because I know he's got just the stencil of numbers. But Cody, do you think that they need to fill the holes with the depth as well?
I think, especially after this Phillies series, I got to see them for the first 2 games up close and personal. And, just the way everything played out, it was depressing. Even us and the fellow beat writers, we were kind of dreading just going into that clubhouse, especially the game where they got blown out 10-1. Dave Roberts really just looked distraught, and it really came to fruition this entire game where, they have a clip of him just rubbing his eyes in the middle of the game, just because of how frustrating it was. The Phillies give credit to, how they've played this season. They've taken advantage of every single thing, a weak National League, an injured Braves team. And now, the running joke at the beginning of the year was, oh, they can't beat, good baseball teams. And now they actually have the best record against good baseball teams over 500. So, we had Jake Huber and Kylie Sullenberger come on for the preview of that series. And, I figured it was going to be a really hard series. And I figured a lot of things were going to kind of be found from the Dodgers, like what are they struggling with right now, and especially how injured they are. Robbie, I couldn't agree with you more. I think this team is just dreading to get to the All-Star break. Even during the the first game of the series, when they placed Tyler Glasnow on the injured list, it seems like they're just trying to get there, trying to rest some of their starters, trying to rest some of their relievers. Their bullpen's being extremely overworked this entire stretch of like 9 or 10 games, and the offense is kind of just feeling it right now. Ohtani looks kind of pressed at the plate. He's lost up there. Andy Pajes just can't find a ball in the outfield, and The defense out there, I think, is the big thing because, Robbie, what you said, they are a fly ball machine pitching rotation, or I would even say just pitching staff. And their outfield defense, they can track balls well, but they're pretty bad. Miguel Vargas is getting reps out there and left. James Outman finally got recalled. He's a guy that actually can, track down balls, put in play really well. He's a very above average center fielder. And then Teoscar Hernandez, he's been manning, left and right. But, we don't know Teoscar Hernandez as a Gold Glove, outfielder. And, Jason Hayward, he's in his mid-30s now. You can't really depend on him to stay healthy for a full 162-game season. We're already seeing him on the IL for the second time of the season. So I agree with, trying to get an outfielder. In reality, it's a lot easier to get an outfielder than a premium position like a shortstop. I know everybody's still clamoring, for Bo Bichette. Guys, it's not going to happen. The Blue Jays have pretty much made it very, very abundantly clear that they are not trading Bo Bichette or Vlad Guerrero Jr. I would be shocked if they do move them this deadline. You're looking more like an off season for those types of guys, maybe even next deadline if they're totally out of contention. And, Luis Robert would be the prize. Jazz Chisholm is a very intriguing name just because of the relationship between him and Miguel Rojas, but a change of scenery could do this guy well. And, this is a guy that's also very familiar at second base if the Dodgers want to go that route. Gavin Lux has not panned out right now. I was a Lux truther, Robbie. I wanted this guy, to take off his career. And, I think the Dodgers need to focus on the now. And when you bring up Mason Miller, another Miller that I kind of think is intriguing is, do the Dodgers try to trade? Because I know you brought up, Walker Buehler. Maybe he's on the market. Bobby Miller, everything that Dave Roberts discussed the other day during the clubhouse kind of shocked us, where they were saying he's going to be down in the minor leagues for a while. Could the Dodgers even just trade this guy just because I feel like they need players to win now? And if Bobby Miller isn't helping you win now and he has value somewhere else, could the Dodgers go that route? Or do you think they kind of just stand pat with the rotation?
Yeah, I would think with Miller, especially with the struggles that he has, along with the years of control that he has, the little money that you're paying him per year, I think they probably end up keeping him. Another idea now, and again, I wonder what Dodgers fans think about this. I got to talk about an old friend in Mookie Betts, of course. I still cry myself to sleep every single night, by the way. But one idea that I was sort of thinking about, but I don't know if it would work. I'd love to see what Dodgers fans think, is maybe you could go after Luis Rengifo, and then you could play him in the infield, second base, and then Mookie, maybe when he comes back, could go back to right. I feel like that could really kill two birds with one stone there. You could add a bat, and then you could improve your defense in the outfield. I wonder if they would like to go that route, but I feel like they probably want to just keep Mookie at second base for now. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Rengifo has been a guy that I've had on my bucket list for a couple years. The Dodgers almost made that deal happen back in 2020, and the Angels just shot it down. And anytime our fan base brings up any type of Angels trade, I just immediately just shoot it down, just because for what it is, their owner just does not like the Dodgers. Artie Moreno does not like dealing with the Dodgers. I don't think he would like to help improve the Dodgers, especially a couple months after they just took arguably their most profitable player away from their market in Shohei Ohtani. The Angels do have, a bucket list of guys. Ward is a really good option. Rengifo's a good option. Tyler Anderson, I loved him when he was on the Dodgers, and he didn't have a good season in his first time out in an Angels uniform, but this season he's really putting it together right now. Rengifo's just that guy. If you look at his baseball savant page, it's not sexy, but it's something where he's a plug and play guy. His best defensive position, I believe, is third base. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Dodgers right now do have a hole there. Max Muncy's oblique injury. We don't know how long that's going to keep this guy out. And I have kind of been agreeing with the point made where I think it just makes sense that the Dodgers just move Mookie Betts back to right field. This is a guy where he won multiple platinum gloves, multiple gold gloves. He was an elite defender out there. I know, Father Time's going to catch up with him in his hips, and that kind of was an injury that plagued him in 2021, and that's why he wants to stay in the infield. It kind of goes back to a conversation, Robbie, that we had like a couple weeks ago on this page. I just feel like the Dodgers don't want to upset Mookie Betts. There was talk already saying move him out of the leadoff spot, move him off of second base, move him off of shortstop. I don't know if they want to move him back to a position that, he was training all off season to do. So, but I feel like with the situation they're in, they should really just value winning ball games and their players' feelings.
Throw Carlos Estevez in there too, just because. That's where I'm at. Just get them all. Get them all.
Okay, well, I want to chime in with this because we're getting into the trade talking. Everybody's like, they got to make trades. They got to make trades. Robbie, please just be fully honest here. The Dodgers, I don't think, have the chips to make all the trades that they need to make in order to address the holes. And what is concerning to me is this. We've been hearing, give Miguel Vargas more playing time, give him more playing time. Well, maybe it was just going up against the Phillies, but if you guys have been paying attention to his batting average, once he's been getting more playing time, it's been going down. My concern is everybody tells me how great the Dodgers farm system is, and it might be so for pitching. But when it comes to position players, I don't know if you can say the same thing. Dodger fans need to be honest with themselves. If they are going to be competing for trades, you have other teams like the Baltimore Orioles. You have other teams, and we already know, the show pods, that their philosophy is fuck them kids. So the show pods will overpay to get prospects. So how realistic is, I know you think that just wait, let's everybody get healthy, but they are in survival mode right now. Yeah. And we're getting into the second half of the season where if it wasn't for the fact that the National League West was so inconsistent, I mean, they're literally, courtesy of Blake Harris, I think they went from having an 8-game lead to a 7-game lead in a 40-game or 44-game stretch where they played 500. So, Robbie, how realistic, how good is this farm system? And how realistic is it that we're going to be able to compete with other teams that if they think they have a chance to win and they're not in the playoffs every year, screw it. Let's overspend and let's go get that guy.
When it comes to the Dodgers, they always have just a good farm, right? They're all consistently in the top 10 when it comes to the Baseball America rankings. And I think right now they could definitely be competitive when it comes to getting a trade done. You got Dalton Rushing, you got Josue De Paula, both are having good seasons in the minor leagues. I've been told at one point in time that they would like to maybe sell high on Josue De Paula if they could. That could be an interesting piece. You combine him with maybe a guy like a River Ryan, got some other pieces in there. I think they definitely could get a deal done if they really wanted to. They could easily go get a smaller deal for like an Erick Fedde done if they really wanted to, or if they wanted to go that blockbuster route where you would have to give up some chips like for a Mason Miller or Luis Robert or Garrett Crochet. Yeah, I think they could get a deal done. I think they can definitely compete with the Orioles when it comes to trades. Yeah, the Orioles, they got a couple of pieces too. Most notably, probably the ones that they would part with or would realistically part with would either be a Kobe Mayo or a Sammy Basayo. Giving up one of them, I don't think would really sting for the Orioles very much, but I think you could say the same thing with the Dodgers and Rushing and De Paula. De Paula is still a little further away. Rushing is a bit blocked. I know you can move him at some point down the road, but I think the Dodgers could definitely compete when it comes to, getting something done.
Alonzo, well, I'm curious. I just want to ask, the fact that the Dodgers moved up Diego Cartaya to OKC, a guy that I think we had all given up on and said it's not going to happen for him. And he's actually, I think he's hitting like 300. But do we have to remind ourselves, cálmate, because OKC is a hitter's park, and they may have made that move to try to showcase him and be a little enticing for a trade package?
I mean, Robbie will also probably agree with this. You have to make sure that your guys can move up the levels if you're going to make them a trade chip, right? And Cartaya was stagnant for a minute, kind of at the lower levels, and they were able to get him up a little bit and moving. The PCL as a whole is a hitter's league. It doesn't matter whether you're in Reno, Vegas, any of these other places. It's that's what it's known for, right? But I think Cartaya going out and doing what he's doing is in fact showcasing it, because let's be honest, he's blocked. No matter how you look at it, Will Smith has been paid. Dalton Rushing is apparently the future. So where does Cartaya leave? He's in no man's land to a certain degree, right? And so as the Red Sox experienced when they did the Mookie Betts trade, a catcher is always a nice piece to receive in a blockbuster trade. That's not shade. That's just the truth, because catchers, reliable catchers, are really hard to find sometimes. And so at this point, for me, put it all out there, see what's going to make the most sense, but it doesn't have to be the sexiest move, because I don't think that the Dodgers even need to go out and get, a Tanner Scott or anything like that. Like Robbie said, even if it's a smaller piece, that works. Jazz Chisholm, we actually talked about it in the group text the other day. I do think Miggy Rowe would be like, nah, I'm not down with that. But if it's going to help the team, Miggy Rowe is going to say, hey, this is what we need, right? And so they'll have to hash out their things on the side, have that conversation over a nice dinner in Nobu, but that makes everything a little bit easier. But it would not surprise me one bit, wherever the trade market ends up taking the Dodgers, if Diego Cartaya is the centerpiece of any sort of a deal.
Yeah, I think you could see a deal. Like, if you wanted to do Jazz Chisholm, I think you could do a Josue De Paula and a Diego Cartaya. I think that would actually make a lot of sense for the Marlins, to be honest. You get a future outfielder. They really need bats in that system. They're lacking in the catching when it comes to their farm system. I think you could do those two for someone like Jazz Chisholm. Maybe even just those two, maybe one more piece. So.
Yeah, I mean, and then, or you add like a lower ranking, kind of a prospect to that, and it gets it done. But I mean, what the Dodgers need, I think we can all agree here. It doesn't matter how we look at this, whether they trade, like I saw people in here saying, get rid of Chris Taylor and so on and so forth. What they need is they need dudes that can compete now. And that's kind of where they're at to plug these holes. Because that bench, I will say, as much as we like those guys on that bench as people, this bench is brutal. Like that's the one thing for me that worries me, because as Dave even said, right now the bench is very young, and right now with the mindset that they have in is they're in win now mode. And Dave even said, I don't like to say this, but we basically have to play perfect baseball right now. And that's a really shitty spot to put the James Outmans of the world, to put the Miguel Vargases of the world, because they're still developing, right? But they have to execute at that level. And I agree, it's the big leagues. Like, it isn't just a matter of making it to this level and you just coast. Like, if you want to stay at this level, you have to produce. And if you're not producing, well, then there's another guy that's waiting right there for you, right? And so the bummer to all of that is these guys are put in that precarious position where they can't execute and they're not being put in a spot to be successful. And that's where it's at. I will say, though, since Miggy Vargas has been back, he's been way more patient at the plate. He's been taking better swings, but it's still just not what the Dodgers need defensively, because as Cody said, we can't have that guy out there platooning in the outfield. That's just not what he's meant to be doing.
Yeah, no, I can chime into that. I actually see a comment here in the chat from Michael Carrillo. Jazz isn't good. Now, I'd actually be very curious to see what Jazz would look like with the Dodgers. I mean, look at what they've done. Look at what they did with Jason Hayward, another lefty bat. Hey, you're getting Rojas, get more production out of him with the offense than ever before. I would like to see what Jazz would be like with the Dodgers, considering just how well they've done there, and put them in a competitive environment as well, put them in a playoff race. I think you could get a little something more out of Jazz. I'd be curious on that.
And it's a good thing you bring up a lefty bat, because one question I brought up to Dave Roberts in Philly was, they actually hit left-handed pitching better this season. Where they're struggling is against righties. And, obviously they're missing some guys that, hit both sides of the hand, with Betts and everything being out. But, their bench, their righty bench just isn't getting it done. It's a very right-heavy bench. And a left-handed, bat would solve a lot of those issues. And, the left-handed bats that they're trying to depend on that, hit well in previous seasons. Gavin Lux had a really good 2022 season. James Outman had a really good 2023. These guys have, a weighted run created plus under 60, and they're just not getting the job done. And those were meant to be anchors in the Dodgers lineup. So that's where I like the Jazz Chisholm, takes. I do think some Dodger fans and baseball fans in general see a guy who's in not the best clubhouse environment. Who can you tell me that is a leader in the Miami Marlins clubhouse right now? They are going through a complete and total rebuild. They do not care. You're probably going to agree with me. Every MLB insider is saying it. Pretty much everybody is for sale on that team right now, minus, give or take one or two names. And Jazz has been, over the coming days has been heavily, being rumored to definitely be moved this deadline. I think he would be a really good fit for the Dodgers, and I don't think it has to necessarily be the outfield like I mentioned earlier. I think you could just plug him at second base, a position he came up as to start his MLB career, and then just do something with Gavin Lux. Maybe involve Gavin Lux in that trade. Gavin Lux still has 2 minor league option guys. It can happen. They option Bobby Miller down. You can option Gavin Lux down as well. He's still on an affordable contract. Try to get him right, do something next year. I think a lot of Dodger fans are just kind of done with the experiment. Like I said, I think they need players to win now, and that's where I think they're at an advantage compared to someone or like a team like the Baltimore Orioles. Clearly, the Orioles have a better, farm system. They have one of the best farm systems in the league. But they are looking more at a bigger picture thing. They want their window to be long lasting. The Dodgers, they've been drafting bottom third in the draft for almost 10 years now, and they know how to draft and develop these guys. They know how to take risk on, getting guys on the waiver wire, getting guys that were just recently DFA'd, taking flyers on journeymen around the league. That's pretty much their MO as an organization since Andrew Friedman took over. I think they just need to put all their chips in the basket and solve some of their issues right now. We had Bruce Coons on the show the other day. He's a huge prospect insider for the Dodgers. He brings a lot of insight, and he even said nobody should be untouchable on this roster right now because you have to take the primes of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Ohtani very seriously because it may never happen in the time like that we're all watching this team right now, and it would be a huge waste to not win, at least one.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And I just want to chime in one more because I had someone in here in the chat say that was an overpay if you do Josue De Paula. I could definitely see that point of view from Dodgers fans, because Jazz Chisholm has been hurt a lot in his career. He's definitely had his bumps. If you didn't want to do a Josue De Paula, maybe you could do a situation where maybe you send Outman back in that deal. You could do a Diego Cartaya. Maybe you could even throw in a Gavin Lux there. Maybe throw in another prospect, replace a Lux with a prospect there. I think there's basically the point that I'm trying to make is the Dodgers have the flexibility to get this done, whether or not they include a top prospect or maybe like a number 7, like a Diego Cartaya, who has shown better on base skills this year. He is showing a little bit of improvement. He's making progress when it comes to the defense. Obviously, he's still making progress there. I think there's a way you could get this done. And if you somehow got a deal done where you could do like an Outman or Cartaya, well, then you got some other chips. If you wanted to go after a Garrett Crochet, go send Josue De Paula to go get a Garrett Crochet or a Mason Miller. You could do a lot here, right? You got a lot of prospects. I mean, go get these moves done. The Dodgers, they got to get this done.
Let me ask you a question, Robbie, because it's a name I saw, and to use a fantasy football term, it's a sleeper. Jesse Winker has had whatever wild, quiet season out in DC, and I mean, he's cheap. I think he's like at $2 or $3 million, and kind of fits the Dodgers' MO of quiet guy under the radar that they go out and either get. Most of the time, it's a cash considerations deal. Obviously, that won't be the case here, but it would be a prospect flip, more or less. Is that a guy that you think A is a sleeper like that, and B, how do you perceive him as a Dodger?
Oh yeah, I could definitely see it. It kind of reminds me of the Joey Gallo move, but better, right? Because Winker's having a good year this year. He's really showing those on base skills that he has shown in the past. Yeah, I could definitely see a situation like that, and I could see the Dodgers making a move like that because they've made those kind of moves before. So yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah.
Just because I saw Michael, I think it was Michael Carrillo. I don't have my glasses on. He's been talking a lot of shit in the comments, so I just had to throw that out there to make it seem like we know what we're going on about. Go ahead, Juan.
I know Canelo wants to get into this because I have a question that's going to take us away from the trade topics, but I know you want to talk about breaking news that happened today. Kenley, I think he was talking about it with, I think Foul Territory made the comment. So Canelo, I'll let you take it away from here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been, I guess, the worst kept secret between, Kenley Jansen, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox, the love triangle that's happening at the moment. This goes all the way back to the winter. There were reports, unverified reports that the Dodgers and the Red Sox were actually extremely close to making a deal happen, but the Dodgers just didn't want to pay Jansen, the full, I believe, $60 million he was originally owed. Well, now that we're at the halfway point of the season, now it's around 8-7, looking a little more enticing. Maybe if the Red Sox throw in a little cash, they can get a better prospect haul, So, and then today's interview coincidentally just drops when we're about to have Robbie Hyde on the show. Kenley Jansen on a Red Sox team that I believe is still in the wild card race. I think they're the last wild card team right now, one of the better teams in the American League wild card race. And Jansen's talking about, I want to retire in Dodgers blue. And that's just something I feel like you don't say if you don't know you're on the trade block. And Robbie, I feel bad for you, man, because I've seen your tweets. I've seen Jared Carrabis's tweets. The Red Sox are just kind of in a funk right now in terms of, how the ownership views the team. If they're a competitive team, they don't know if they want to be, buyers at this deadline. I mean, who does know if they want to be buyers in this new wild card format at this deadline? So I kind of am interested in your thoughts on that. I feel like Kenley Jansen, the Dodgers, is just, inevitably going to happen for a bunch of reasons. Like you mentioned, going back earlier, Dodgers need bullpen help. They do have, I believe, the second best bullpen ERA underneath the Atlanta Braves, but for most of the season, they were the best. And all the injuries, Brusdar Graterol, Joe Kelly, Ryan Brazier, these are guys that are either out for the whole year or they're going to be coming back at the very end. We don't know what we're getting. I think they could really use a guy like Kenley Jansen to slot in as the closer, move Evan Phillips back to his, fireman, get out of damage. Blake Trinan's looked really good this year. Alex Vesia, he's done a complete 180. I just think it makes all the sense in the world. But what would make you comfortable as a Red Sox fan still making a trade like that? Because I know you threw out an interesting idea, a 1-for-1 Walker Buehler. Ken Rosenthal kind of piggybacked off that idea as well. But what are your thoughts on just this whole Kenley Jansen situation?
I don't think the Walker Buehler one was me. I know I've thrown a lot of stuff out. I don't think that one was me. I don't know who that was. I know someone put it out there. I think I commented.
Look at Robbie. He's like, don't put that shit on me. Don't put that Walker Buehler.
I get enough heat, all right? I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind a Walker Buehler, to be honest. Who put? I think Ken Rosenthal put that out there. I think he actually did. I think he put that in his article. I do find that intriguing. I don't know. But that's just me. But okay, first off with the Kenley thing, my reaction, because there was also like some comments from Vaughn Grissom today saying like, oh, if they like me, they like me. If they don't like me, then whatever, F it, blah, blah, blah. And then you got Kenley saying this stuff. And I'm like, and then I see other Red Sox accounts out there, bigger accounts where they're like, oh, I'm not looking too much into it. I'm like, does anyone realize we're in a playoff race right now? And like, yeah, like whatever, say what you will about ownership. And some people will probably call me a homer or whatever, but we're in a playoff race. We're actually 5.5 out in the division right now, just after tonight's win. But you got comments like this, like coming from Kenley Jansen, and even going back to the beginning of the year, where I'm sure he was, a little frustrated, with the lack of, major additions. And he was like, oh, playoff chances, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm like, you kind of those comments. And then today I'm like, we're in a playoff race right now. Why are we even talking about? I get it. Like you've been a Dodger basically for life. You live out there. You have a home out there. But hello, like wake up. We're in a playoff race. So I just don't understand why those comments are being made. To me, I think the better answer, it's like, yes, obviously there is that Dodger connection, but I think that could have just been said better. Like, yeah, I always love the Dodgers, that always have a place in my heart. Well, maybe those conversations at some point can come back up, but my focus is on the Red Sox right now. I don't understand why that's not being said. I don't get it. It's weird. There just seems to be some weird thing going on with like players and like with ownership or some, I don't know. It just seems odd because I feel like you shouldn't be seeing comments like this when you're now 5.5 out in the division and you're looking pretty good. It's not just you're in the wild card race. They've been playing really well lately. So the timing is just so odd to me. I don't get it. I don't know. I was kind of at a loss for words for that one. It was weird.
So are you saying where there is smoke, there is fire? Am I reading too much into it?
At this point, it's funny because I remember in the off season, there is one like Red Sox fan account. He posts like a lot of negative stuff all the time. He's more of a troll than anything, but he put one.
Is his name Juan Ramirez by chance? Just out of curiosity.
No, I actually don't even know. I don't remember what the name. I haven't seen him in a while.
At Blue Revolt Film.
No, it was a guy named Anthony or something. I don't know, but he put something out there. He was like, I was told by someone in the know that, Kenley's been upsetting people in the front office and blah, blah, blah. And at the time, people were like, no, what are you even talking about? Like even Lou Merlone came out and like said something like, nope, haven't heard any of that. And it's just funny because I'm not saying he was right. It's a very good chance he made it up. I don't know, but it's just funny because I thought back to that comment and I'm seeing like this stuff now and it's like, it's interesting. So I wonder if there could be a move because I saw someone in the chat saying Justin Slayton is waiting in the wings. This guy's had a fantastic season in the Red Sox bullpen. The Red Sox have done really well at getting a lot out of guys that, they basically picked up Slayton for nothing. They paid Criswell $1 million and everyone just trashed on that. And he's actually been a very effective pitcher for the Red Sox this year. There's a lot of guys I feel like you could slot into that role. The difference is you don't have the experience of a Kenley Jansen, but I don't know if the Red Sox really look at it that way. You even had Andrew Bailey in the offseason. I'm paraphrasing it, but he said something along the lines of, you don't necessarily need to have a closer. Like I don't remember how he worded it, but it was very interesting. I wonder if there ends up being something with Kenley, because they have maybe some other options there. We'll see. It's going to be interesting with him, I think.
I think the big thing is just the contract. Yeah, I feel like, the Red Sox, they want to, move off these like bad contracts. Obviously, in retrospect, would they want a Chris Sale in this team right now, considering they need starting pitching? Yes, but they offloaded his entire majority of his contract, and that is helpful. Maybe not exactly for this season, but for the outlook of the team. Where Robbie, the Red Sox are a big market team; they will spend soon. Right. But yes. Kenley Jansen's the same thing. Where if they could just get something of value for him right now, and getting his contract off the books for the rest of the season, maybe they view that as a win. And, when you have a guy like Andrew Bailey that takes over, the pitching staff and pretty much the entire Red Sox rotation and
you guys know him
starting
well.
Rotation to bullpen, it's complete 180 compared to years past. And he's definitely made an impact there. And I feel like more and more teams don't need a closer anymore. I feel like that's the philosophy that everybody's going with. And even the Dodgers this year, they have Evan Phillips, but they've also thrown, a variety of different guys into that situation. It's not like how it was, 5 or 10 years ago where you had that ninth inning guy and he only went in during the ninth inning. I feel like teams value, being flexible. And I feel like the Red Sox, if they think Kenley Jansen doesn't want to be that flexible role in the bullpen, then they could just ship him out.
Yeah, I agree.
Robbie, I wanted to follow up with in talking about weird situations with Kenley, basically saying, hey, I would love to go to another team. Another situation that I think is weird, and I'm surprised that not a lot of people are talking about it. So you guys tell me if it's just a bad take on my part. But the fact that Walker Buehler has decided he's going to do his own rehab away from the team and that it's private by his request, that to me seems odd. For me, am I reading too much into it? That if you are requesting to do your rehab privately, have you lost the trust of the team? Is that why you're choosing to do it privately? Because, hey, I don't like what you guys are doing, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Is that not a weird situation, or is it common to have major leaguers decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to rehab on my own. I'm good.
I mean, I'm not a Major League Baseball player by any means, but I used to compete a lot in powerlifting. Not saying that's a major sport or anything, but I've had my fair share of injuries. A year and a half ago, I actually had a pretty major neck injury where I got nerve damage in my arm. It's it's almost better, but I lost like 50% of my strength in my right arm, and I went to one place, and I wasn't feeling it. I feel like I just wasn't really making good progress. And I was like, I think I'm going to go elsewhere, and Yeah, and I started going to another guy who who had been, helping out a lot of athletes and whatnot. And yeah, and me and him have been working together for the last, year or so. So from my own point of view, I mean, if you're not using the team, yeah, I feel like he's probably not enjoying what they're doing.
So anybody, I mean, Canelo, anybody else in the chat? I mean, to me, that seems like the Dodgers and Walker Buehler are heading for a breakup. And if that's the case, shouldn't he be on the trading job and see what you can get for him?
Yeah, immediately the guy I went to when I was in, the manager's office, Dave Roberts drops those bombs, went to my phone and I said, guys, I can't wait to hear this stuff about Walker Buehler, because everybody was kind of puzzled in the room. And I won't name drop any names about like with the beat writers, but what they were saying, but they kind of just got the vibes that, Buehler just is that type of player. He wanted to go on his own route. Obviously, what he was doing on his rehab to come back, the results just weren't there, minus like 1 or 2 starts. Obviously, he gets, put on the injured list. They're saying, hey, figure out what you want to do. Take your time. It looks like he just wanted to take things into his own hands. I think the big thing about this whole story that was very jarring was just where Dave Roberts had little to no information about him at all. When he was pressed, he said, well, how do you guys evaluate him if he's with a private facility? Do you get videos? Do you speak on the phone? And he was like, that's a good question. I'll get back to you on that. And it just really means, like, to me, I'm just reading the rooms that these guys just aren't talking to each other. Maybe he gives like updates here and there to the pitching coaches and maybe the physical trainers. But even if your manager doesn't know, and I get that he has to manage the guys that are in the clubhouse, that's like first and foremost what he's there to do. But when Buehler's been your guy, you've been waiting for him to come back after a second Tommy John surgery, and you want him to be a big part of the rotation, to have this much of a disconnect at this point in the year with the way the rotation looks, it just does not look really good at all. And I feel like that's why when you speak of Buehler in trade talk, I put it out there. I said, it'd be funny. I feel like they could just do the Noah Syndergaard, trade like last season. Just get whatever you can. It seems like this guy is inevitably going to walk in free agency. If he's already not having, good relationship with the team and the coaching staff right now, what's going to make him come back in free agency in a year's time? So I think it's an interesting situation. I really don't know. I'm like 50-50 if he even throws another pitch this season. I feel like the Dodgers don't want him to throw a pitch if he's not comfortable and if they don't think he can win ball games, because as of right now, he's not winning ball games. Bobby Miller, if he's out there on the mound, isn't winning us ball games either. So I feel like those two pitchers are the big storyline as we get close to the deadline. But it's just weird. The whole vibes in that clubhouse after that, and then the manager's office were just very awkward after that exchange.
Yeah, and I think, with Buehler, as with free agency coming up, he's probably also thinking about that too, where he's probably trying to do balance both, where he's like, listen, I want to get healthy. I want to, go to obviously do my rehab and whatnot. I want to try and get back with the team. Feel like this isn't working out though. I also have to look towards my future too. And you know what? I wouldn't think it necessarily paints a bad relationship. It could just be, hey guys, this isn't working for me. I got free agency coming up. I want to help the team, but hey, at the end of the day, I have a career to focus on too. And I got, if we only got a certain amount of time here, he wants to go for what he feels is the best possible option. So I don't necessarily think it means like, oh, no, I'm done with this Dodgers team. I'm tired of it. No, wouldn't say it's that. I think he's just trying to prioritize, getting back to the team, but he's also looking to the future too.
I want to stop the presses real quick. We're going to continue this conversation, but Blanche Devereaux from the Golden Girls has just entered the chat. Thank you for being a friend. And Sports Empire has made a return to the Bleed Lows podcast, ladies and gentlemen. He's the one that makes the most sense. What the Dodgers need is a couple of common man. He needs the son of a plumber. And that's right. That's what I'm telling you here. It's about the polka dots, Sports Empire. All right, let's go ahead and go back to this conversation. Another thing that I want to bring up, I know everybody's a little down right now because they got swept by the Phillies. And it looks like the Phillies are just a class of the National League. And I know they'll probably, the first game, they just got their asses kicked, right? That second game, they were very much in it. And the third game might have been closer if the Dodgers would be able to hit with runners in scoring position. The question I have for you, Robbie, because you have, from the beginning of the show, you said, look, just let them get healthy. Let's just get them healthy. Let me ask you this. Don't stars need to be stars too? Like, this is a team that is top heavy. And you saw, for the most part, I mean, you could say with the Phillies, 1 through 9, those guys all kind of delivered. But when you have runners in first and third and 1 out, and you have Shohei and Teoscar come up and you don't score, that's a problem. And it's like, you are paying these guys. And I think this is part of the reason. You guys in the chat, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the anxiety that we're feeling is we depend on these stars. Federico went 0 for 10 in the series against the Phillies, right? This is all flashbacks to what happened in the playoffs the last 2 years. We have stars. We expect them to be stars. And when they're not, guys like Gavin Lux, guys like Chris Taylor, guys like Outman and Andy Paquez, they get blamed for the Dodgers sucking. And it's like, come on, guys. I mean, let's be really honest what happened here.
Yeah, I think for the Dodgers, I think back to the 2018 Red Sox. I feel like they need like a Steve Pearce kind of a guy, a guy that, he's not the star, but a guy that stepped up. You saw what Steve Pearce did in that World Series. He will always have a place in my heart. But, you could even look to even someone like, maybe it's not the greatest example, but like a David Hamilton on the Red Sox this year. He's just kind of come out of nowhere this year and stepped up in a big way. He's not the star of the team, but he's really just showed up and he's contributed a lot. I think you make a good point. Getting those key role players to provide a little bit more. Yeah, of course, the stars, they got to do their thing too. Freeman's been a little cold as of late. Let's see if he can get it going here. I also think, when you don't have your guy like Mookie there and Muncy as well, that's, these pitchers, especially the quality of these Phillies pitchers, they're going to go after these guys like Ohtani, Teoscar as well, they got the targets on their back. So,
yeah. And the Dodgers, since Betts went down, they're 9-9. They have played 18 games. They have a dead 500 record. Those first 9 games were against really bad teams, Robbie. They were against the Angels, the White Sox, and the Colorado Rockies. And the Dodgers, I think won 7 or 8 of those games. After that, they're facing, the Brewers, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, and then the Phillies take care of business here. And if your stars, it goes back to what I'm saying, if their stars aren't being stars like they were last October and the October before that, the Dodgers are just such a top-heavy lineup right now, and I think that's their biggest Achilles heel. Because when I look back to those 2017, 2018, and the 2020 team, 1 through 9 just had like grit. It was a guy. Their bench was solid. They were above average. Players, and I just feel like that's what they're missing, and that's where we're gonna go full circle in this episode, where I don't think they need to go exactly the superstar player route, but they just need role players that actually just play to their role, because I feel like the guys that they either re-signed or signed to do that, Chris Taylor isn't playing to his role, Kike Hernandez isn't playing up to his abilities, and we're seeing that's where the underlying problem is. But I think the series with the Phillies right now, I was close up, I was watching it, the bottom of the order was actually the best part of the series. Miguel Rojas, Gavin Lux had a couple hits. It was the top of the lineup that just didn't
Where's
get
the Austin
job
Barnes love? Where's the Austin Barnes love?
Everyone's wondering why Will Smith's getting off days. It's because Austin Barnes is coming for his job. So we're talking about all-star catcher. Austin Barnes is getting up there. I think he rose his batting average from low 200s to like 260 over the course of the past couple of games. So, but I just feel like that's the big need right now.
Yeah, and I want to mention in the chat, Tian Jiang, she said Tommy Pham. I think Pham could be a decent addition there. A guy that brings a little attitude to the team, a little personality there, and hey, helped the Diamondbacks last year. I think that could be a decent role player. Someone like that having a pretty decent year.
Robbie, I want to follow up on that real quick. How is that real? Is that a real thing? Because for many times we've said the Dodgers need like attitude. Like the Dodgers need like a different kind of red ass, because they have red asses on that team. But I mean, is that something that you think actually is something that a winning team needs? Somebody like Tommy Pham who will threaten your life and being a little like off kilter where you just like I don't know, something might set him off.
Sometimes it could be a good thing. Sometimes it could be a bad thing. I don't know these players personally. I think it really just comes down to that. And I think that's where, management would have to really figure that out. I've actually been told before where I used to be with the Believe Network. I did a podcast with Ellis Burks. And I remember he sat down, or he told me that when he was with Cleveland, he sat down and they were looking to get John Rocker. And, Rocker was obviously, had quite a personality. And they sat down with the players and they said, "Hey, we could get a deal done. What do you think?" And they were like, "Yeah, we want to win." So, it really comes down to that too. I mean, he might punch someone in the face over fantasy football. But if it helps you win a championship, then why not?
Alonzo, I know you and I were talking and we thought, man, I mean, this is like everything is going wrong for them at this point. And the way I know you saw him, Cody, this week with Dave Roberts. I know the finger is going to be pointed at Dave Roberts. Next year, he's going to be a lame duck manager. And I know friend of the Carnesada, Dylan Hernandez, has already written articles about that. Now, if there is such a problem like this, Alonso, where and I want to be clear for those of you who are sitting there and saying that I'm defending Chris Taylor and Gavin Lux. What I am saying is if you think they're the reasons why the Dodgers are going through this funk, I just like, what do you expect from them? Be realistic. Like if you expect those guys to be the ones leading the team, I don't know what to tell you. And so I guess that's my thing, Alonso, is there is still an opportunity to rectify this come the trade deadline. But are we just really need to be honest with ourselves and that the evaluation of this team might have been wrong? I know nobody factors in regression. Everybody expects players to do the same thing they've always done on the back of their baseball card. But I go back to spring training where after a week of spring training, they moved Gavin Lux off of shortstop. And I'm like, wait a minute, guys. Your whole plan was this guy was going to play shortstop. And after a week and a half of him playing shortstop in spring training, you thought, this isn't going to work? Like, what was the plan on all this? I know you can't plan that Chris Taylor was going to be as bad as he was, but this feels like it's a roster construction thing. And what I don't understand, because I don't think we'll ever get an honest answer, is this on the GM or is this ownership? I know that ownership spent a lot of money. Those are business moves. That is capitalism there. They are making their money. I am talking in terms of straight baseball moves. We won't know because I don't think they're going to be honest. But maybe Friedman did say, we have a problem at shortstop. And ownership said, you got to figure it out some other way. The credit card's tapped out for right now.
I mean, I would say, being fair to Chris Taylor, Chris Taylor wasn't slotted to be an everyday guy, right? But the reason that he has a job is because he can play. He carries like 7 gloves in his bag. So, I mean, that's the whole reason he has a job, is he's got the versatility with multiple positions. No one was expecting him to go out and hit, 280 with a sub 900 OPS or anything like that. But at the end of the day, too, Dodger fan will tell you Chris Taylor in the postseason has a clutch bat. And that's the other reason that he's on the roster as well. Granted, right now, it doesn't look too promising because I think he's only hitting like 156, like no strays to CT3, but I mean, that's when you're not playing all the time, that's what's going to happen. Michael Carrillo, you also have to factor in regression. Just like Juan didn't, you have to because he's 33. He's not the same CT3 that we saw when they acquired him way back when and he was going out and doing the clutch things. That's just what happens when you're over 30. My back hurts right now because I am over 30. I didn't even do anything. So imagine these guys that are running all the time. It happens. Jason Hayward, again, That's just a part of the deal. The Gavin Lux thing is interesting because I feel like, I know Cody's a big Gavin Lux guy. He a Lux truther. I want that on a shirt, by the way. That's an interesting experiment because ultimately this all, to kind of tie it all in together, this falls on the GM. The roster construction is the GM. The roster construction is baseball operations. That's who needs to fall on that sword. Ownership basically said, here is the check, make it work. And it wouldn't surprise me if ownership also said, oh, you didn't have a plan for that? Sucks to suck. We had a plan for this. Figure it out. And so ultimately, I think the Gavin Lux thing, I think he has been put in an unenviable position to either be successful or not be successful. And he's the one that gets the shit end of the stick. It's nobody else, right? Because if he doesn't produce, then they have to move on from him, as they did in the spring. Oh, this is not the guy. Well, let's figure this out. I think that's super unfortunate because also, as I've said before, that affects morale with the Gavin Lux because he's a kid. At the end of the day, he's still developing. He's a kid. He plays baseball at a super high level and he's learning on the job. But at the end of the day, my guy over here is still struggling. Today he had a good day. But the expectation was that Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, Miggy Rowe too, they're not expected to be the dudes that are carrying the weight of the team. As you said, this is a top-heavy team. That responsibility falls on the Freddie Freemans, the Mookie Betts, and the Shoheis of the world. Everyone else just has to do their job, and if they do their job, then here we are. But clearly, they are not, and that's why we are here.
Canelo, do you have anything to add on that? I know we're getting close to wrapping things up here.
I mean, I feel like he hit everything, well. It's kind of everything we've been talking about these past couple weeks, where obviously over the course of 162 games, there's going to be ups and downs. But one of the things I tweeted out yesterday, especially, after, they lost that game 4-3, was that just the big thing with the Dodgers right now, and I don't know if this is a Dave Roberts issue or if this is a coaching issue, if this is a front office thing, but there just seems to be miscommunication. It just seems like the clubhouse and the way they explain information or explain how to do things, it's off this season. And the big thing that happened in yesterday's game is that prior to the game, ESPN even talked about it, is that they were trying to teach James Outman how to drag bunt. And James Outman gets pinch hit for Kike Hernandez in, I believe, the bottom of the 7th inning. And there's already a runner on second base. Chris Taylor led off the inning with a double. And he goes up there and puts up 2 hacks for a drag bunt. After the game, in the press box, we were like, why is he trying to bunt? Why is he even trying to drag bunt? If he's just now experimenting, you're facing against a really good National League team. I don't like that idea. I hate bunting. I just think it's a waste of an out. And they asked Dave Roberts after the game. They said, hey, was that your call or was it Outman's call? And he said it was Outman's call. And after the first time, they asked again, well, why didn't anybody say anything to him to not do it again? And Dave Roberts didn't really have an answer to it. And obviously, Roberts, was upset that Outman took that into his own hands because he even said, we put Outman there to potentially give us the lead or tie the game with a home run or, a double or something, not go up there to be, a sacrifice hitter. So that's kind of just been the theme this season compared to last year. I feel like the Dodgers had a lot of grit. They had a lot of clutch in them because I feel like they just didn't really have much pressure because they brought in a bunch of, role players from other teams like David Peralta, JD Martinez, they took a flyer on, and these were guys that had to prove stuff. This season, it just doesn't really seem that way right now. They could definitely correct it. I brought it up to Dave Roberts where, looking at 2023, the offense just looked better last year, and that was without Shohei Ohtani and all these other players that they added this season. But that's just the ebbs and flows of the season. Going back to the beginning of the show, I just think this team needs to get to the All-Star break. We'll see how Detroit goes. They're going to be facing Skubal up there. That's probably a loss, so we'll see what happens.
Can I ask an overreaction question? Is that
absolutely?
So, hey, you're coming off a sweep. Overreactions are just all over the place right now. Prediction time. Let's say Dodgers, they don't make it to a World Series this year. Is Alex Cora your next manager? Are you guys taking him from Boston? What are we doing?
Well, let me ask you, Robbie. Does Cora want out of Boston?
I don't even know at this point. Like I said, we're talking, Kenley's already talking about, retiring as a Dodger. I don't know what's going on. Like, who knows? I don't know.
I've heard that rumor, and I'm curious, where did that come from? This is not the first time I've heard that Cora is going to be the guy replacing Roberts.
I think he was with the Dodgers for a long time. Dave Roberts, I feel like, has always been a lightning rod among Dodgers fans, at least from what I've seen in the comments and on my power rankings show every single week. There's always something about Dave Roberts, no matter what. I don't know. I really don't know where it came from. I think it's just you have those ties there originally. It'll be interesting to see. One thing I do know is Cora is going to have a lot of leverage either way, because no one saw this Red Sox team playing this well at this point. Who knows what ends up happening with them over the next month or so, but Cora right now is showing he's one of the better managers in baseball. Either way, he's going to get himself some nice money in the offseason wherever he goes.
Hey, Robbie, I want to follow up with you on this one. How involved are the Red Sox front office in the day-to-day running of the team? Is Alex Cora meeting with the Red Sox GM, discussing lineups, discussing matchups?
It's you got Sam Kennedy who will pop in. He's the guy. He's part of the owner group where they stick him out there. They're like, okay, you go talk first. John Henry is on his yacht or something, or he's dealing with the new PGA partnership, or he's trying to get a basketball team, or he's over watching Liverpool games. Who knows? John Henry seems checked out with the Red Sox, in my personal opinion. He's looking for other things. They're also looking to improve the area around Fenway. Henry does not want to speak with the media really ever anymore. Kennedy's the guy. He's the face that they stick out there. So who knows what Henry's doing? He's probably in his silk pajamas right now, having some wine and doing something with golf. Who knows?
Alonso, I mean, if they do run Roberts out, obviously, I think Alex Cora is a logical replacement because he's won a World Series. He's a winner. But how do you think Alex Cora is going to deal with Andrew Friedman and every day in his office saying, this is who we should be doing, even though Andrew Friedman denies that he does that? I mean, Andrew Friedman, I want to make sure I'm fair, says Dave Roberts is the one managing the team, but yet there's a narrative out there that Dave Roberts is not making these decisions by himself.
So I think personally what's going to happen is they don't fire Dave Roberts. They let him have the lame duck year, and I think they make a serious run at Torey Lovullo, another Red Sox disciple, because his contract is through, if I'm not mistaken, 2026. So you give the guy the lame duck year, do all that garbage, and you go out and you get Torey Lovullo. To me, I like Alex Cora. Don't get me wrong, I like Alex Cora. But to me, the guy that would kind of rile up what you need is a Torey Lovullo. I don't think that's going to happen. That's just my dream. But in a best case scenario, that would be the move. Cora, the thing I like about Cora, that dude knows how to win. Whether like all the shit that you want to talk about with Houston, at the end of the day, whether it's the trash cans or not, the guy knows the guys play for him. Like that's one thing that you cannot deny at all. Even if Kenley wants to retire a Dodger, he would also tell you that he likes playing for Alex Cora. He's a player's manager. And so that wouldn't be a bad choice. But for me, the guy would be Torey Lovullo.
Canelo, come in with your hot take.
I find it hard that the Dodgers would move on from Roberts unless something drastic happens. Say, if they get swept again in the NLDS, yes, I would think so. I was on the fence if they were going to do it last season. I think they were going to give it another go because they knew they were going to more than likely go hard after Shohei Ohtani, make some key trades to make the roster better. If this season they don't even get an NLCS appearance, I feel like Roberts has to be on the hot seat, which is crazy because if Dodger fans can just take the step back and look at what he has done since he's taken over the helm in 2016, I believe he is top in the Dodgers in terms of winning percentage as a manager per like a minimum amount of games. He's one of the best in winning percentage in Major League Baseball history. And, he's like one World Series away from being like one of the best managers in Dodgers history. but it just shows the expectations the team has this year. Do they let him? I feel like they have to make a change if something bad happens this year, and if the World Series is the goal, at least an appearance, then I feel like if they don't get to that, they would have to move on. And if Cora does want to jump ship, or if he's looking for another opportunity, get that really contract, tries to beat Craig Counsell's record or something, the Dodgers could be that team to do it. My thing is we talk about it, Juan. The big thing is Andrew Freeman and that clause in Ohtani's contract. Why would you get rid of, Roberts is just, a part of what Freeman is. Freeman is, they work together. They're constantly talking together. If you look at any Dodgers pregame, especially in the postseason or at home games, those two and Brandon Gomes are just always talking. It goes through both. So if you get rid of Roberts, you're getting rid of Freeman, and that would be an ownership thing. And if Ohtani sees that and he puts in his, his contract, hey, if Freeman's out, I'm out, or possibly out, I don't think the Dodgers would run that risk unless they assured Ohtani that they were going to replace him with someone like, Lovello or, Alex Cora. But I think it's a medium chance for Cora, but I think it's a higher chance that Roberts could get canned. But Bob Nightingale came out today and said that he would say Aaron Boone's more on the hot seat than Dave Roberts, just in terms of, the success Roberts has had in previous seasons. But as guys know, everybody has a different opinion on this entire topic, and we won't really know until October comes.
Robbie's eyes lit up as soon as he said fire Boone, fire his ass.
I think you ask a fascinating question, Robbie, because for me, I feel that it's really going to be, if they flame out this postseason, it's going to be a fascinating test to the organization, because I feel this organization is very sensitive to their image, their perception, and there's a litany of things that we can go over that has happened to the organization this past year and how they've dealt with it. But if they flame out, if they get embarrassed again, like they went scorched earth in the offseason last year, and I think it appeased the fan base. But if they get embarrassed again in the postseason this year, I don't know how you appease a fan base who it is becoming more and more expensive to go to games, and they have to deal with whether it's valid or not. They deal other fan bases is telling them your championship is not legitimate. You deal with 2017, where many fans feel they were robbed. They just want a legitimate World Series, one that probably kind of like what the Astros won, one that made them feel good about themselves. So I think it's a fascinating question that you have that I don't have an answer to, but I'm very curious to see how this organization handles it.
Yeah, and I'll throw in a little bit of a hot take on that. I think, I could be wrong, definitely could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. But I wonder if they do flame out, again, overreaction here, but if they do flame out, one key guy I think that could come up in that situation is Shohei Ohtani, right? He is the $700 million man. Hey, Ohtani, what do you think? What do you think of Dave Roberts? How did you like your first year? What do you think? I think they get an opinion from Ohtani in some way, shape, or form. I mean, LeBron basically runs the Lakers at this point. Is Ohtani going to be the LeBron of the Dodgers? I don't know, but I think his opinion would be strong if that question ever came up.
Ohtani did not give Dave Roberts a Porsche, so that's big. This is big news, guys. This is big news. So
he gave him a little Porsche. He gave him a toy. He gave him a toy Porsche. Look, I think that's a fascinating question. It's one that, again, I don't know if we're going to have the answer to because of the transparency issue, but I don't think anybody discusses it because it's a little inside baseball. But things in the organization have changed ever since Ohtani has come. And I don't think anyone can say that it wasn't done to appease Ohtani. I think one of the things that this organization is very good at is not putting the players in a position. I think like what they did to Mookie, like having Mookie, I'll play shortstop. Mookie comes off, hey, man, he's doing what's best for the team. But at the same time, the organization put him in that situation. Will they do the same thing to Ohtani? I don't think you're wrong, Robbie, but will we ever find out? that that's what they did, that's a different question.
You guys got to dig for it. That's the key. You got to dig.
That's right. So like guys, I want to give a big thank you to Robbie for joining us. Robbie, we covered a lot. We loved having you on the show. Again, you want to let everybody know on here where they can find you, where they can listen to your stuff, where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah. If you want to see what my potato face talks about when it comes to baseball, just type in my name on YouTube. That's there. Not very difficult to find. On Twitter, my handle is Ginger Snap Hyde. Don't ask how I got that nickname. It's from high school. But yeah, that's how you can find me. I'm not too hard to find. My ginger self sticks out like a sore thumb. So.
Michael Negrete, you bring up a very good question. I feel like you guys were so polite. I don't know who wins the Danny Duffy Award tonight. And Robbie, just to let you know, we have an award that we give out on every live show called the Danny Duffy Award. And that's the award that we give to who catches the most strays on the live. And I don't know if you picked on, is there anybody that you felt got a lot of undeserved hate on the live tonight? And that's usually who we award the Danny Duffy Award to.
I mean, as soon as I brought up Alex Cora, I had like a few people in here saying, "No, we don't want Alex Cora." Can I say Alex Cora? Can he get the award?
There we go. Absolutely. You are the guest of honor, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Alex Cora winning his first Danny Duffy Award tonight. So congratulations, Alex. Again, if we have any new people on here joining us for the first time, make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you guys. Look, our YouTube, we got a whole bunch of stuff on there. We got interviews with players. We're covering the games. We got pre-game and post-game interviews. You guys want to know about the Dodgers? And just know this. I know there's a lot of Dodger podcasts out there, but I just want to let everyone know the other ones no son como nosotros. All right? No son como nosotros. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. For Canelo, Alonso, and Robbie, and Babyface, who was behind the scenes on this episode, nos vemos para la próxima. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos, everybody.